Champions League is the most prestigious award in world football, despite only being a competition played between European clubs. Which in this alternate universe today is making people question whether it is truly valid, and everybody instead is watching the World Cup. No one is liking the Champions League because it's only won by Europeans, which is why in today's rebuild we are going worldwide to try and win it, as today we are only allowed signings from each other continent in the world, and we have to try and win the Champions League with only signing non-European players. As yes people, welcome to the challenge of all challenges. As you can see on screen here, we have Hansa Rostock, the team in the Bundesliga 3, or 3 Liga, dominated by German players, and in general, because there's a Swede there, Europeans. That is not going to be the case come the end of the video, as like I said, people are stopping watching the Champions League and changing to the World Cup because they are bored of seeing European teams win everything. So today we're bringing out of Europe to it, as today we have to win the Champions League within 10 seasons with no European players, and that is going to be a challenge because 10 seasons starting in the 3rd division of Germany. I chose Hansa Rostock because it's a fall from grace, a team that's had some quality players like Toni Kroos in the past, plus the comments told me to use this team. And the continents, we're not including Antarctica, we're just including the ones that are here in FC. We've got South America, North America, Asia, Oceania, and Africa. Oceania's going to be difficult, as look at the countries built up in it. We've got Australia, we've got New Zealand, and the challenges as well, we've got to rotate, so we can go here, then we have to go to Africa, South America, North America, back over to Asia, making sure we've got a nice spread, as we are not using this youth academy. I want to find some real life hidden gems in those countries or continents, with 3 million euros to spend, and we've got 10 seasons, so this isn't just going to be about non-Europeans. We've got a team full of Europeans at the moment, so we have to get a tactic together that really works, and Hansa Rostock an ex-Bundesliga 2 side, so I'm going to go very attacking, with attacking wing-backs on supporting roles for our 2 strikers. And you might think that's a little bit weird, due to the amount of wingers at this club right here, but I'm taking that as a blessing in disguise, because if we sell these players, we've got a bigger budget to sign elsewhere. Yes, Hansa Rostock fans, I have chose your team, but please don't get butthurt because I am going to actually be selling the majority of your players to fund our project. Like Ryan Naderi really looked a potential player. Same with Felix Rushk. He's gone to Kasim Passer after turning down Cardiff City. With a few more players going out as well. Almost $1 million for these 2 here. Then we've got Kinsombi and Drinkner, who was a first-team CDM. We obviously don't have to change this team to a full non-European one in Season 1. That would be crazy. Near enough impossible even. However, we do need 2 new players. We need a right back we actually sold and a defensive midfielder. We're going to start in Oceania. For me, in this rebuild, I'm predicting it's going to be the most difficult place to scout. So if we target the younger players from there, maybe they've got potential to grow. Ryan Teague is our first signing, the defensive midfielder from Australia, joining up from the Pro League. And we've also gone to Africa for Rafik Belgali. Rest of the money went straight into coaches, as you can see. A lot of positions covered, with now the right back covered from Algeria, the CDM from Australia, ticking off 2 continents, but we have to go to 3 more before we can go back there. And if you're wondering if they made a difference, well, they are the 2 highest rated players in our club. Apart from the club captain we've also got, and Cedric Harenbrock is the top provider. We'll need a provider from outside of Europe soon. With this being a pretty decent start to this save, we've got 10 seasons to win the Champions League, and Hansa Rostock do find themselves in the 2nd tier. After a promotion, we don't have any cup competition being in the 3rd division of Germany, but we will next year, which might equal more money to add to the 1 million we saved this year. Obviously, players to still go out, and the Americas to search. If you're from America, leave a like. Or if you're from anywhere, leave a like. We're trying to hit 500 on this video. Desperately wanting a like from you guys. And if you aren't subscribed, do subscribe as well. Significantly helps these videos get pushed as Pokal. As you can see, we've got the standings, and then we have the budget overview. We topped up to 5 million euros. Also, it's pretty funny. We're using euros, not signing from Europe, but we're in Germany, of course, and we can't forget that, as I'm now looking towards the forward positions. With Andreas Volksamer, 34-year-old now, we do have Tim Kron, who could cover him for the time being, allowing us maybe to go for another centre mid, because we only have one at the club in Benno Deidzer. The other one is Kenan Facik. Oh dear. And another thing I'm just realising now is, I don't know how I ignored it season 1, but we do not have a left back at the club. Plenty of young defenders, but young defenders we cannot use once we do reach a Champions League finale. So I'm going to say goodbye to numerous players here to try and earn the money. Fiete Rock, Maximilian Kraus, Dominic Linus and Franz Pafane are the next out the club, which now is only down to a bench, a staggering little amount of players, meaning it's crucial we find them 2 positions and potentially another gem somewhere else. I do want to get the ball rolling. I want to visit 3 other continents, signing 3 players up to this team to go into the Bundesliga 2 and survive. So I went North America with Peyton Miller and USA left back, only a young age, and then South America, Ignacio Souza, 22 years of age, before this final signing. And hopefully the man to continue to grow. This is Lee Ho Jae, a 6'4" player in his prime from Korea, and there's a reason I went to Korea first. And that is because I started this video wearing the Korean kit, knowing this man would be a beast, as 12 goals, a little bit less than David Hummel, which is a shame, but he's still a player we can sell. I don't mind the growth of players that are German in this team because it gives us profit. And Souza, the 23-year-old. Now we've done our full circuit of continents. We will be back to Oceania, and we won't be back to the Bundesliga yet. 7th for Hansa Rostock. Not bad. Not bad at all in the 2nd year. We can't forget, however, this is a speed run. 10 seasons is all we have, and we are still losing in round 1 of domestic competitions. We've got to do it well in continental ones, such as the Europa, so we've got to get a hurry on, and I'm going to try a different tactic going into next season, selling our best players that are European and replacing them straight away, such as the centre-back, such as Deidzer and Florian Carstens. We're definitely going to be centre-back shopping next season, with that position crucial to be improved. We're going to go with the big centre-back out first. We say goodbye to Ahmet Gurlian, who doesn't have a German sounding name, but does add cash or cash flow to this Hansa Rostock squad, which is what we need. We need more cash to get more better non-European players into Europe. As we didn't sell the central midfielder, we sold Lucas Wallner just before the Eds. I'm not lying, he's definitely leaving. We could not miss out on the cash to Las Palmas, a 75 overall, giving us 21 million euros going into our 3rd Bundesliga 2 season, with the expectation of automatic promotion. Bundesliga football in our 4th year would be crazy in this challenge, but I think I've found the best New Zealand player outside of that striking position, Tyler Binden, over at Strasbourg, coming from the blue group, so you know he has decent potential. However, I'm still worried because signing him that early means when it does come to Oceania again, it's going to be really difficult to find someone better than that man, as I do want to get rid of another centre-back before we do sign again, like Florian Carstens, who I spoke on last season, but with only 19 players here, including 3 goalkeepers, 1 at 33, who we most definitely must cash in on, and that's good money from Besiktas, before we go and sign an African goalkeeper with some decent potential on him, who definitely isn't Onana. It is Ndiaye, 21 years of age, which leaves plenty of time to grow. But then I was going to grow a central midfielder until Jalen Mitchell showed his face from Sturm Graz, the Costa Rican midfielder. leaving us South America to go for our central one. Igor Jesus makes it into this Rostock team. Not the striker from Nottingham Forest, but there is a striker from Nottingham Forest. Very close on my radar. Now, Miller isn't growing too much. Jadon Mitchell hasn't played, showing there is conflict with the non-European players compared to the ones that are European, because Florian Karsten's still taking game time. I'm fed up of saying his name. We've got Hummels as well, who scored 16 goals, less than Lee Johei, who is on fire. And the next player we need is South American, or sorry, Asian, as that's a big step in the right direction. Second in the Bundesliga 2. Yes, means no trophy again, but a promotion to the Bundesliga, almost halfway through this save. Squeaky bum time is amongst us. We really need to try and improve this team now 5 seasons deep, as not only is this a non-European challenge now, but it's a challenge to stay in the Bundesliga, especially with 180 rated plus player. The extreme rebuild kicks in, as we are only avoiding relegation season 1. According to the board believing in our project, and 20 million euros should be sufficient for some more players, preferably a cam and a striker. However, formations may be changed, because when we do zoom in on Miller's stats, it's quite obvious this guy doesn't have the physicality to be a defender. So I'm going to try and squeeze him up to either be a left mid or be a central midfielder, with Rafik definitely training to be a right mid with 91 pace, and Ryan Teague to a centre back, because when you do look at that 94 physicality, he looks perfect for it, as yes, it's a change to 3 at the back. Now we are in the Bundesliga. It does seem kind of risky, but we're going with 2 holding midfielders, a stopper in our back line to make sure we still continue to keep clean sheets, the South American link in the midfield with the captain the next out the club, and then the striker, which will make our starting 11 all non-European, something we've chased for ages, but I am not going to sell the players we're replacing in the starting 11. We'll need them for the bench, so Paul Stock and below 70 overalls are the ones being sold, but we actually don't need to sell many players. With me going to look in Georgia for a cam, but then me quickly remembering they are a crossroad region, and they did play in the Europes with Kvicha tearing it up, so I avoid them for my cam signing. I go to Sota Kitano, a little decent cam, reminding me of a future Minamino, leaving striker the position needing to be signed, and we're back on Oceania, which I was going to say only means one thing: Chris Wood. But I've tried searching both ways. He's retired. Oh dear, a huge step back, but Mohamed Toure maybe pulls us back in the picture of potential survival, as Rafik changes to an 83 when put onto the right mid drill. Fantastic if you ask me, and then paid to Miller, a guy we really needed to take that gamble on, to a 72. Is that still good enough? We really need to remain in this division, and I've actually made a mistake in the video. This is the 4th season, not the 5th one. And to have an 87 rated player at the time of the halfway mark is brilliant. Not to mention an 86 as well, but only our strikers getting 9 goals each. And by the way, this is Mohamed Toure, 25-year-old, maybe even better than Chris Wood. He's got a bit of pace about him, but might still need replacing with what can only be described as a stinker of a season. We were goal difference away. Goal difference away from a relegation playoff, not to mention 3 points away from utter relegation, and now we're at the halfway mark. Being in the Bundesliga isn't enough. We've got to step this team up towards Champions League winning. And that could even require the sale of some players like Belgali, like Tegue, because Mitchell's a bit too lightweight, he's unhappy, he's not getting all the game time, due to Carsten's down here on the bench, which is very much lacking quality, very much lacking our challenge of getting non-Europeans into our squad. The board have took a long look at that last season and only gave us 16 million euros, almost definitely meaning one of our top 383 rated players and above go. Alongside Florian Carstens, I've said his name too much, it was about time he left the club, hopefully helping Jalen Mitchell play, because there's no way I am selling him to Go Ahead Eagles. He firmly remains signings, as the player not remaining is Rafik Begali. Yes, going to a league rival, but giving us 200 million to go out there and survive. But I just don't want to do that. Obviously, that is the main aim, but I want to build a squad up this season. I'm talking bench, which we don't have a big one of, and we really don't have good players down there. Alongside the obvious void in our first team squad, which is the right midfield position, which will get covered first, and it is an African replacing an African player. Ernest Nuama is the big money signing from Almeria, before we make some smaller ones, as on paper, Marcel Ruiz starts as a free agent, but here joins us from Leipzig on a big fee, same as this man Angel Anselmino, joining from Chelsea. I think he came through the academy, or was very close to doing, as that has grown the 80 rated core of our squad, but leaves us without a backup fullback or wide midfielder we desperately need, which is why I'm going to take Bae Jun Ho from Udinese as our Asian player. And then we are back to the dreaded Oceania, in which we did find Surkati, so I guess we technically got a little lucky. Him and Teague, both from Australia, both big signings. To help the main team grow even more, we now have an 88 in our lineup, an 89, but Miller has not received the game time he really needed to grow. Down to our other signing, Bae Jun Ho, I didn't introduce you to, who's done quite well, not as good as Lee Ho Jae in the green rating marks, which we now have a lot of, and a 30 goal season for that man right there. And Mohamed Toure, he's coming along nicely, and this shouldn't be a relegation battle here in Season 5, and it is a firm position in the Europa League for Hansa Rostock finishing 5th. Bayer Leverkusen winning the league again. Flashback to the unbeaten season, with them beating us just on penalties in the DFB Pokal. It was almost a German trophy, but the trophy we're after is the European one, which isn't the Champions League, which is the one we must win. You've just got to accept this challenge is far from done. Especially when our bench is still made up of these German players we are never going to be using. Fatik out of the club. And the biggest one of all, Tim Krohn, because he did look like a potential player who could have grown, and we didn't need the money from them. Spent a little bit on a couple of wages, on the most important wages, as we're expected a semi-final of the Europa League from the board, and it is crucial we actually go ahead and get that done, because it's now that time of the save where silly bid season starts for the best players we have at our team, such as the captain Teague, who I really want to keep here, but must be very cautious about. We've got 270 rated in the lineup, with the objective of this season for me being to get this team all over 80. Alongside, however, making a bench that will still compete for the Europa League, meaning I want to get this season going quickly. I want 3 players in particular, being a striker, a centre-back, and also another non-European goalkeeper to challenge and die, which is where Okoye comes in. A centre-back comes in as well, with Bundesliga experience in Noah Banks. And finally, we needed a striker from South America used to winning, especially in the Europa League, which is why we've called upon Richarlison, bringing him in for a bit of experience, but now he's down to a 34-year-old at 74, with this team in front of him looking pretty tired, meaning potentially this season has gone on longer than it should have done. And let's face it, we should be winning the Europa League with the squad we have. Ignacio Sosa is just such a good player, 91 overall, but when you do deep his stats, overall they're not good, but a lot of 91s, propping him up at that overall. And Ryan Teague is getting older, but 93 defending and 96 physicality. If his jumping stat was a little bit better, he would be the world's best. As Lee Ho Jae, he is now 30 himself, but 34 goals does not put Hansa Rostock into the Champions League in our 6th season, with the goal difference -2 and Leipzig stopping the Pokal in the semi-final again. But this year is different because the Europa League is won for Rostock. Neuschland, I mean, kind of an easy game for a semi-final. And PSV, the run was kind of easy, but that means this non-European team will be in the Champions League with a chance to win it next year. With only 40 million, however, in a Champions League budget due to Europa League getting us here. And then we do have the Super Cup, a chance at another trophy, which is funny because the only trophy we've won is the Europa League with this non-European team. Before any promotion ones down the divisions in the Bundesliga, as you can see, want a semi-final. However, this is where the challenge does get difficult because we have to go to Asia for a player. We've got an Asian player getting older, and the players in the continents aren't as good as the ones we've got here. With also contracts being an issue now, I'm gonna try and delegate the majority of these. However, now some contracts do contain release clauses, which I really couldn't get rid of, meaning players are more likely to leave, and we've only got 23 million now. Not exactly the amount we wanted to go into this season with, and that release clause I just spoke on has been paid up for Sotter, Kitano, another player to Leipzig, strengthening a league rival and leaving us needing an Asian player in Takefusa Kubo, replacing Japanese with another slightly older Japanese player, 30 years of age. We've had to be really patient with him, only just changing him to a cam, but we've got 90 rated still in this squad, with one of them getting 24 goals, Ignacio Souza. Now we've really got to be careful with him. It's out of our control, but he does have a release clause. This is the team that's been playing on the bench. Richarlison, at least he did get us that Europa League, which is all we could have really wished for, but now he is struggling, and Rostock are on the ropes, 12 defeats in a Bundesliga campaign. That puts us out of the Champions League run, unless we win it this season, with San Pauli winning the Pokal after beating us. Yes, they went on to win it. I can't believe it. And you know what also I can't believe? Us Europa League winners beat the Champions League winners in Atleti de Madrid, finishing also above them just in the Champions League phase, before in the playoff round we were dismantled by AZ Alkmaar, a team with their highest rated Patati, a non-European Brazilian right midfielder, meaning heading into season 7, we've got to win the Champions League, but won't be in the competition at all. We've had what can only be described as a shocker, as our budget is halved. We had more than that from selling the player that went on the release clause as the Europa League. If this Rostock team can battle through the hardship to win the trophy again, surely the morale will grow, the confidence, and we will go ahead and win the cup next year. Heading into season 8, and we have been gifted another European player due to the retirement of Richarlison, meaning we definitely need strikers once more, and I'm going to take 2 of them. We've got Alex Bodelato, a Australian, and then we've gone the experience route again. Huge player incoming, a huge gamble with the budget, but not only that, the age of the player. Victor Osimhen is a Hans de Rostock man at 88 rated, somehow still at Galatasaray, and maybe we just get one full brilliant season from him? With him surely enough to go and win the Champions League positions back, with David Hummel Sale being crucial towards the completion of this challenge, because now, all apart from this regen player we was given, we should have, once it's... Wait, something's changed, but we should almost have a full non-European team, including bench and everything. But Liho J has left us. Turns out 3 strikers as a crowd, and one of them had to depart. Fair enough, I respect it. And we do get a respectable 3rd position, meaning Hansa Rostock in the 8th season will be back in the Champions League. Going into the 9th, I definitely know we're below 10, but maths is not my strong point. If you've watched the channel for a while, you'll know that. And Leverkusen beat us in the Pokal, and Leipzig win the Champions League over Strasbourg. We can be beating those teams. Sure, Leipzig did finish above us, and we don't win the Europa League this season, with the trophy going to Sporting, miraculously beating Manchester City in the finale. Congratulations to them, as this time the board are wanting the finale. And that almighty Bundesliga trophy free with the 116 million from the release clause of our striker I really wanted to use in game, looming over our heads with Osimhen now the starter. 34-year-old, but still does have pace. In fact, he has it in bucket loads. He's got physicality, got shooting, but got a decline on his overall by 2. We've got to think about our backup striker strategically. And I'm not going in for Richarlison again. However, I am going in for a Brazilian. And one of my favourite Brazilians on FC26, Elias. If you know, and you have been, like I said, a channel favourite for a long time, you'll know how much that man means to me. As the final thing I'm going to do is release that striker to give us now and officially the chance to win the Champions League, with everybody in this team being from outside of the European nations. As when you look at that, look how good this squad looks. Yes, we have had an 85 rated, and we do have an 82 on our left wing. But as you can tell from the graphics, think this is 8 or 9 seasons in, but the Santiago Bernabeu awaits Hansa Rostock, taking on the Toon Geordies, Newcastle in a finale after they've beaten some decent teams like Arsenal, like Manchester City they had to beat on penalties. We faced Porto, Feyenoord and Milan. Kind of easy. No offence to them clubs on the whole, as we don't win the Bundesliga still, and we still don't win the Pokal. And every year, it is not won by Bayern Munich, but someone we don't expect, as Ryan Teague, our first signings, hit 95. Souza is one of the world's best, not willing to renew a contract, despite scoring 31 goals. So if we don't win this finale, we will have one season with Rostock really struggling to win the Champions League. Old Trafford awaits. A lot of Geordie fans here. They've not had a bigger travel than us. Black and white. Really do like my black and white clubs, being a Grimsby fan. Difficult to beat these, and they'll play well. Morelli, Varela, some decent players like Miley, Jaworski, definitely have European players themselves, including Kai Havertz. Big save. Get our foot on the ball and run. And Numa needs to get the ball around the corner into Osimhen, a little bit further back, but he's through. Look at the quick passing. Victor Osimhen. Was I really worried about the little attack they had at the start? No, because he scores, one of the Africans, non-European, with a clinical finish like this. Newcastle, he's just walked through you. Poor if you ask me. However, they could be instantly level. Kai Havertz, Newcastle United, definitely not sitting back. They're after this instant equaliser. Ball onto Jaworski, into Lewis Miley. Big block, and the movie's still not over. Miley around the corner. Anselmino, very lucky to get it away. And Nuama onto Takefusa Kubo. Osimhen trying to sneak around. Really like the feel of Victor Osimhen. However, here's the other one. Torre, the number 10. Being forced back when we do play between the lines here, though. This formation does work. Nuama into Kubo. 2-0 at Old Trafford. Takefusa Kubo. It is drilled into that front post by Ernest for Kubo to tap in. Fine finish. However, Jaworski. Oh no, this game is far from over. Bartosz Jaworski. That's a goal for Newcastle. At least it's not the leveller still. Managed to get our noses in front with a glorious goal from our Kubo, and Otero. Newcastle United continue to be dominant. Ball in the middle if they was going to play it. Herzog allowed to run, however. Miley, Varela. Varela drills that into Kai Havertz. Lewis Miley's now the captain, and Lewis Miley's taking the shot on. Gotta keep on freshening this team up. Gotta use the subs when we do get the chance to do so. Perry running through the middle. Don't like how he's dancing round us. Rayan Cherki the same, and Takefusa Kubo onto Torre. Can the T's link up? They could. That's the wrong pass, Takefusa. Torre was easily through. Rayan Cherki is now through, and he's even thinking and die. Bottle jobs. Bottle jobs. The lot of ya! We're running into players, and Perry's running through on goal, and Dye might have to make another big save, and he does so. Poor from Rostock. The final season might actually have to happen. We might not win this finale today, but Nuama picks this up. This is a counter-attack on Newcastle United here. Kubo, I don't even know what I was doing with it, but it's into Osimhen. Osimhen with a run-on. Referee! Referee, give the penalty kick! I pray you guys are watching this with popcorn in hand, as Torre could actually win it. Now, that was obviously offside. We're going into extra time in this finale. This finale that looked to be wrapped up within 20 minutes. And at least we're firing at the goal. We did fire all our goals in. The 2 we've got. Could we get another? Torre tries to shoot, but fails to do so. And Winter, one of their fresh subs, stopped immediately by Anselmino onto Kubo. Now through to Torre. Coward Elias, there is a reason I put you into this team. And that is the reason. Goddamn why. Calm, Max. Calm. This game is far from over. It is not over till the fat lady sings, aka the full-time whistle. And Newcastle United, Cherky looking at the back post. In this second half of added time, Newcastle switching the switch back on and putting a ball out wide. Anselmino, you cannot miss that header. It is Perry whipping the ball in. Oh my days, a huge opportunity, and they know it. Thomas Frank's side, it looked like he was the manager, getting unlucky. Elias loses the ball, but referee, he blows that whistle. Now, do you guys see the reason I love Kawa Elias in FC 26? It's because he's the best striker ever. He's the best striker ever. Our first signing, Ryan Teague, lifts the trophy to complete this challenge. As thank you guys so much for watching. If there's any other challenges you want me to do, pop them in the comments below, and I will get round to them if they get a lot of backing.